The series begins in a morgue, where the body of an unidentified girl lies. Outside, her stepbrother Chi Yan, along with his assistant Lu and the girl's husband Yang, are present. Chi Yan can't bear to view his stepsister's body, but Yang and Lu are go inside. Yang breathes a sigh of relief, telling Lu that the obstacle in their relationship is now gone. Yang kisses Lu, but their moment is interrupted by the arrival of a well-known businessman, Pei Jin, who demands that Yang leave, threatening to expose him after witnessing their interaction. Pei Jin then turns to the body and remarks that everyone must believe she is truly dead. Once the room is empty, Pei Jin removes the cover, and the girl, Qing, opens her eyes. He congratulates her, saying the plan has been a success. The scene shifts to Pei Jin removing Qing's bandages, informing her that she is no longer Qing, but now Gu, and no one from her past will recognize her. Qing protests, but Pei Jin reminds her that he saved her life and altered her appearance to resemble a woman he once knew, leaving her no choice but to assume this new identity. Qing recalls the accident where she saw her husband, Yang, and his lover Lu, both choosing not to help her. She also remembers Pei Jin coming to her aid but instead performing surgery to change her face. Reluctantly, Qing agrees to follow Pei Jin's plan, on the condition that she gets the chance to exact revenge on Yang and Lu. The scheme begins when they attend a party where Yang is present. Qing, now introduced as Pei Jin's assistant, is mocked by the other women at the event and pushed into the swimming pool. Pei Jin watches from afar while Yang, intrigued by Qing's beauty, helps her out of the water. He takes her aside and asks for her assistance in securing a business deal with Pei Jin. Later, Pei Jin's assistant enters the room and subtly touches Qing's hand, signaling that they are involved. Pei Jin notices and becomes enraged, leaving abruptly. Yang then pressures Qing to convince Pei Jin to approve the project. That night, Pei Jin confronts his assistant, furiously reminding him that he instructed him to act like he was involved with Qing but forbade him from touching her. When they return home, Qing questions Pei Jin's anger, and he accuses her of making a mistake by allowing someone else to touch her, declaring she must be punished. Pei Jin forces Qing under cold water, reminding her that he gave her a new face and that she should be grateful. Qing retorts that once their revenge plan is complete, she plans to undergo surgery to alter her appearance again. Enraged, Pei Jin forcefully kisses her, asserting his claim over her. Meanwhile, Yang receives photos of Qing at a hotel with Pei Jin's assistant. He interprets this as evidence that Qing is a flirtatious woman, one he can use to secure his business deal. When Pei Jin shows Qing the photos, she becomes furious, as they appear convincingly real. She weeps, vowing that once her revenge is complete, she will rid herself of both her current face and her captor, Pei Jin. Pei Jin then orders her to spend the night at a hotel, where she's expected to meet with one of his associates. Upon her arrival, Yang shows up, accusing her of using men to get what she wants. In response, she hands him the contract for the project he's been after, revealing that he is now a third partner in the deal with Pei Jin and Qi Yan. However, Yang cruelly shows her compromising photos of her with Pei Jin's associate, threatening to expose them to Pei Jin unless she sleeps with him. Devastated, she agrees but stalls, explaining she must meet Pei Jin first. As Yang leaves, he comments that her hair reminds him of a woman he once knew. Qing then goes to Pei Jin, informing him that Yang has taken the bait. She tries to resist going back to Pei Jin's house, but he insists. As Pei Jin approaches her, Qing remarks that he appears angry, but whenever he looks at her face, he seems to calm down, as if he can't resist her. Pei Jin, enraged, grabs a pair of scissors and cuts her skirt, stating that she's far from being able to seduce him, suggesting he can indeed resist her charms. Qing, paralyzed with shock, sits motionless on the couch for a long time. Before Pei Jin leaves the office, he tosses his jacket to her. Determined, Qing continues with her plan and goes to Yang's house, deceiving him into thinking she's there to spend the night. She gets him drunk, then hides, whispering things only his wife would know, terrifying him until he crashes into a wall, losing consciousness. She takes the property agreement and leaves, recalling how Pei Jin once saved her life when she was on the verge of death. As she steps outside, she finds Pei Jin waiting for her. Meanwhile, Lu arrives at Yang's house and finds him in a disoriented state. When he comes to, he confesses that he hallucinated his dead wife still being alive. Lu dismisses it, reminding him that his wife is dead and buried. As for Qing, Pei Jin notices her distress. She confides in him, saying that while her husband abandoned her, Pei Jin saved her. She moves closer, admitting that she now truly considers herself his, allowing him to kiss her. However, when Pei Jin is alone later, he retreats to his private room, where he gazes at photos of the people he seeks vengeance upon, Qing being one of them. At the same time, Lu makes a phone call to an unknown person, updating them on Yang's situation, and indicating that she needs to meet Qing to uncover the truth. The next day, Lu arranges to meet Qing at a cafe, introducing herself as Qi Yan's assistant and pretending their encounter was coincidental. She drops Qing's bag and secretly plants a device inside. Qing notices but pretends not to. Later, she shows the bug to Pei Jin, who quickly realizes that Qi Yan's company has cancelled the project. Lu plays the recorded conversation to Yang, revealing that the project is terminated, and he will now have to pay the penalty. Panicked, Yang rushes to Qi Yan's company, where Qi Yan confirms the project's cancellation and tells Yang that his only option is to return the deposit to Pei Jin, who had convinced him to invest in the first place. Enraged, Yang threatens retaliation before storming off. He goes to Lu's nightclub, confessing that he's lost everything and has no money left. Lu coldly orders him to leave, breaking off their relationship. Shortly after, Yang receives an official letter informing him that all his assets have been seized. Yang, desperate to salvage the project, goes to Pei Jin, begging him to reconsider. However, Pei Jin refuses and orders his security team to throw Yang out. Yang then turns to Lu, pleading with her to reconcile since he has nothing left but her. Lu slaps him, calling him a fool, and wonders aloud how his wife ever loved him. Dejected, Yang leaves. Later that night, Pei Jin tells Qing that her revenge on Yang is complete, and Qing responds that Lu is next. Suddenly, Pei Jin receives a message from Yang, showing compromising photos of Qing with Pei Jin's assistant. Yang threatens to release the photos unless Pei Jin resumes the project. Enraged, Pei Jin confronts Yang, warning him that his life will end if the pictures are made public. Yang attacks Pei Jin and is about to stab him when Qing arrives just in time, striking Yang and tossing him into the swimming pool. Back at home, Pei Jin, for the first time, thanks Qing for saving him. She, however, is startled by the sound of thunder. As Pei Jin hesitates to comfort her, Qing takes the initiative and rests her head on his lap for reassurance. The next day, Yang wakes up to find Qing standing in front of him. She coldly informs him that it's time to pay for what he did to his wife. Terrified, Yang tries to flee but collapses after seeing Qing with blood on her face. Qing watches him, sorrow etched on her face. Meanwhile, Pei Jin discovers Qing's ability to play the piano. When he inquires how she learned, she admits she doesn't remember much about her past. To celebrate Yang's downfall, Pei Jin takes her out to dinner, where Qing declares her intention to exact revenge on Lu next. Pei Jin warns her against it, reminding her that Lu is Qi Yan's assistant and that he doesn't trust Qi Yan. Qing, however, insists that Qi Yan is her stepbrother and a good person, which angers Pei Jin. He drags her to a hotel room, reminding her that she belongs to him and must obey his commands. Elsewhere, Yang awakens in a strange room, shackled, with Qi Yan beside him. Confused, Yang demands to know what's going on. Qi Yan coldly replies that he will never forgive Yang or Lu for their betrayal of his stepsister, Qing. The next day, Qi Yan meets with Qing, who is surprised by his visit. She asks what he wants, and he simply says he wishes to get to know her better. Back at Qi Yan's office, Lu notices a picture of Qing on his laptop. She questions his interest in Pei Jin's assistant, but Qi Yan remains silent. Later, when Qing returns home, Pei Jin confronts her, asking if she met Qi Yan despite his objections. Qing admits that Qi Yan came to her, and she interprets it as a sign to proceed with her revenge against Lu. Angered, Pei Jin punishes her once more, forbidding her from seeing Qi Yan. Qing insists that Qi Yan is her stepbrother, but Pei Jin warns her that she is now a different person, and Qi Yan may want more than a sibling relationship. To assert his control, Pei Jin forcefully kisses her, declaring that she belongs to him. The next day, Qi Yan reminisces about his childhood memories with Qing. At that moment, Qing passes by Qi Yan's house and sees him with Lu, which makes Lu furious when she senses Qi Yan's interest in Qing. Later, at Pei Jin's company, he angrily accuses Qing of meeting Qi Yan again. Qing tells Pei Jin that Lu has feelings for Qi Yan, and she plans to use this to exact her revenge. Enraged, Pei Jin orders her to stay away from Qi Yan, offering to help her take down Lu through a different plan. He reveals that Lu ran away from her family, and they know nothing of her whereabouts. Convinced, Qing finally agrees to follow Pei Jin's new plan. One night, Lu is shocked when her estranged parents appear at her nightclub, triggering painful memories of her father selling her to men for money before she escaped. In a panic, Lu flees the nightclub, leaving it to her parents. The next day, Pei Jin and Qing spot Lu on the street, and Qing remarks that this is only the beginning of Lu's downfall. Lu, with no other options, returns to the nightclub, where her father demands she repay his 4 million debt. When Lu says she doesn't have the money, her father suggests she spend the night with the debtor. Helpless, Lu is drugged and forced into the arrangement. Meanwhile, Qing requests Pei Jin's permission to attend Qi Yan's party. Pei Jin leaves the decision up to her but warns he won't intervene if anything goes wrong. The next day, Lu arrives at work with visible signs of abuse, attracting the stares of her colleagues. Qi Yan, concerned, suggests she take time off to recover. He also reveals that her parents have discovered her whereabouts, further distressing Lu. Reluctantly, she leaves the office, feeling broken. Unable to resist, Pei Jin decides to attend the party with Qing. When Qing begins dancing with Qi Yan, Pei Jin becomes jealous and pulls her away, leading her out of the party. As they leave, Lu enters, drawing the attention of everyone with her disheveled appearance. In the car, Qing pleads with Pei Jin to let her grow closer to Qi Yan to uncover more about his fiancé's mystery. Pei Jin warns her that Qi Yan is dangerous and urges caution, noting that Lu is watching them, furious that Qing is receiving attention from both Qi Yan and Pei Jin. At home, Qing continues to press Pei Jin about getting closer to Qi Yan. He scolds her for her stubbornness and threatens to teach her how to obey. Despite Pei Jin's objections, Qing meets Qi Yan at her grave. She asks him if he truly loved his stepsister, and Qi Yan admits that he did, describing her as innocent and sweet. He also mentions that her behavior became strange, and that the Qing he once knew seemed to disappear 2 years ago. When Qing returns home, she finds Pei Jin drunk. She questions whether he's trying to make her believe he's jealous. Qing then tells him that Qi Yan has noticed something off about his fiancée, believing she's acting differently since her return. Unable to hold back any longer, Pei Jin reveals the truth. Gu, his fiancée, was close to Qi Yan, but she mysteriously disappeared, and the police couldn't find her. Pei Jin confesses that he gave Qing Gu's face to keep the illusion that his fiancée was still with him. As he tries to kiss her, Qing, for the first time, pushes him away, horrified to realize that every time Pei Jin touched her, he was imagining his lost fiancée. The next day, Qi Yan meets with Qing and orders a cake his sister used to love. Qing subtly tries to hint that she is his stepsister, feeling increasingly terrified of Pei Jin's dangerous obsession. Later, Lu sees Qing at Qi Yan's stepsister's house and accuses her of seducing him into giving her the property. Qing brushes off the accusation and, instead, reminds Lu that she left her to die on the road, threatening to tell Qi Yan the truth. Lu, in shock, insists that Qing is dead, claiming she saw her body in the morgue. But Qing ominously references Lu's affair with Yang and the events at the morgue, leaving Lu visibly shaken. Lu, panicking, demands to know who Qing really is before fleeing the scene. Shaken, Qing immediately calls Pei Jin, explaining the confrontation. Pei Jin warns her that Lu will now see her as a target, but their call is abruptly cut off when Lu electrocutes Qing. In a frenzy, Pei Jin orders his employees to search the entire city for her. Meanwhile, Lu ties up Qing and declares she must die, just as Qing did. Qing, confused, asks why Lu is so determined to finish her. Lu admits it wasn't she who originally ended the life of Qing, but she now wants revenge because Qing exposed her location to her parents, leading them to sell her to men again. Lu, filled with rage, douses the area in gasoline and threatens to set it ablaze, forcing Pei Jin to kneel when he arrives. Qing, shocked that Pei Jin actually kneels, seizes the moment and kicks the lighter from Lu's hand. Pei Jin swiftly overpowers Lu, rescuing Qing. Back at the house, Qing, grateful, asks why Pei Jin saved her again. He places a necklace around her neck, asking her to never remove it. She falls asleep on his lap. Later, Pei Jin retreats to his private room, staring at Gu's photo, confessing that he now loves Qing, the real Qing, and no longer has feelings for Gu. The next morning, Qing wakes up in Pei Jin's private room for the first time. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Ima regains consciousness to find herself bound and being beaten by a stranger. At the company, Qing asks Pei Jin for permission to reveal her true identity to Qi Yan, as her revenge is now complete. She wants to return home. Pei Jin vehemently refuses, warning her that Qi Yan is dangerous and had always known she wasn't Gu, hinting that he might have had something to do with Gu's disappearance. Despite Pei Jin's objections, Qing is determined and heads to his company, where she encounters Pei Jin's mother. The woman berates Qing, calling her promiscuous, but Pei Jin barges in, defending Qing and whisking her away. Furious, Pei Jin reminds her he told her not to approach Qi Yan, but she retorts that it's none of his business. Realizing the necklace he gave her contains a tracking device, she confronts him. Qing proceeds to meet Qi Yan and reveals her true identity, explaining that Pei Jin saved her after an accident and gave her his fiancé's assistant role. Qi Yan responds by calling Pei Jin insane, suggesting that she move in with him and posing as his fiancée to avoid suspicion, reminding her that they aren't actually related. Shocked by Qi Yan's proposition, Qing finds herself torn, while Pei Jin secretly listens, seething with anger. Sitting in distress on the street, Qing contemplates her decision. Pei Jin arrives to comfort her, asking if she plans to go with Qi Yan. Hesitantly, she confirms her decision. Qing accompanies Qi Yan to his home, where she meets her stepmother, who rejects the idea of their marriage. However, Qi Yan insists on introducing Qing to her stepfather, who lies in a coma, having been poisoned. Qing, devastated, weeps for her stepfather, who truly loved her. After she leaves the room, Qi Yan coldly injects the food supplier, ensuring his stepfather remains unconscious. That night, Pei Jin confronts Qing, forcefully hugging her and putting earrings on her, telling her he's missed her deeply. The next day, Qian's mother tells Qing that if she wants to join their family, she must resign from Pei Jin's company, pointing out that everyone knows her as Pei Jin's ex. Qing decides to submit her resignation to Pei Jin, intending to move forward with Qian. Pei Jin, not wanting to let her go, pleads with her to stay longer, but Qing reassures him by hugging him and asking him to trust her. She promises to uncover the truth about his fiancée and determine if Qian is truly dangerous. Meanwhile, it is revealed that Qian has kidnapped Lu. He confronts her, reminding her that he had once pushed Yang towards her to separate him from Qing, but she failed. Lu even witnessed Qing's supposed death but didn't intervene, leaving her to die. Now, after attempting to kidnap Qing herself, Qian says it's time for her punishment. Later, Qian's mother expresses her disapproval of him marrying Pei Jin's former assistant, but Qian is resolute in his decision. He tells his mother he will marry Qing regardless and takes her away. That night, Pei Jin is surprised when Qing arrives, kissing him and whispering that they are being watched. Back at Qian's house, he asks Qing if she has feelings for Pei Jin. Qing admits that at first, she didn't, but over time, she grew fond of him, especially since he saved her from death. Qian hides his sadness and takes her to buy a new necklace, commenting that her old one is outdated. Upon returning to the house, they find Lu there with Qian's mother, who accuses Pei Jin of being responsible for the real Qing's death, with Lu assisting him. Qian defends Qing, insisting she had no part in Pei Jin's crimes, and locks her up, claiming he will uncover the truth. Locked in the room, Qing realizes she's been deceived by Qian and suspects he's a criminal. What she doesn't know is that the earrings Pei Jin gave her contain a tracking device, which allows him to find her. Qian's mother, meanwhile, uncovers the truth that the real Gu is dead and that the woman with Gu's face is actually Qian's stepsister, who miraculously survived an earlier attempt on her life. She recalls how she had ended the life of Qing's mother and how she tried to finish Qing in that accident. Shocked that Qing survived, Qian's mother decides to try and finish her once again. Qian then visits Qing in her locked room and asks if she knows the true identity of the woman whose face she now wears. Qing, confused, says that Gu was Pei Jin's fiancé. Qian confirms this but adds that Gu had also been her piano teacher. She disappeared suddenly, leading Pei Jin to suspect his entire family, including Qing. Shocked, Qing asks why she can't remember any of this. Qian explains that after her mother's death, Qing experienced trauma, which caused her to forget that period of her life. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Qian allows her to leave. Qing, overwhelmed by the revelations, wanders the streets in grief until Pei Jin finds her. Angry and confused, Qing pushes him away, accusing him of using her to exact revenge on Qian and suspecting he was responsible for her accident. Pei Jin, heartbroken, hugs her and swears that this isn't the truth. He admits that he initially suspected her but stopped once he realized she was innocent. He confesses that he gave her his fiancée's face out of grief, not to manipulate her. Pei Jin admits he made mistakes, but he begs Qing to trust him now. He reveals that after Qing's mother died, Gu disappeared immediately, suggesting that her mother might have been murdered and Gu had witnessed it. He urges Qing to be wary of Qian and his mother, insisting that they are dangerous. Qing, after hearing Pei Jin out, reveals that she has seen Lu locked up in a room, begging Qian to release her as he had promised. This solidifies Qing's belief that Qian is not who he seems, and she realizes that Pei Jin's warnings may have been right all along. Pei Jin, afraid of losing Qing, embraces her before leaving, confessing that he no longer sees her as his fiancée Gu, but loves her for who she truly is, Qing. He tells her to take care of herself, filled with concern for her well-being. Later, when Qing returns home, Qian asks her if she will truly accept marrying him. Qing, acknowledging that they are not blood-related, agrees, saying she has no issue with the idea. However, she calls Pei Jin shortly after, instructing him to release a video, a move Pei Jin strongly opposes. He insists on finding another way to seek justice, but his assistant reveals that Qing had already published the video herself, showing her in bed with another man. The video, although fake, infuriates Pei Jin, who calls Qing, scolding her for acting recklessly. She defends her actions, explaining it wasn't real, but Pei Jin is still hurt. Qian's mother is equally enraged, furious that Qing has tarnished the family's reputation. In a fit of rage, she kidnaps Qing and takes her to the same place where she murdered Qing's mother, revealing the truth that her mother's death was no accident. Qian's mother confesses that she orchestrated the accident out of revenge when her husband divided his wealth between Qian and Qing, despite Qing not being his biological daughter. She had also attempted to finish Qing in the same accident but failed. Now, she plans to finish the job. Before she can act, Qian intervenes, drugging his mother to sleep. She begs him to finish Qing, but Qian refuses, declaring that he will protect her. When his mother threatens to expose his secrets, Qi Yan chooses to silence her permanently, ending her life. Qing, witnessing this brutal act, realizes that Qi Yan is truly a criminal. Meanwhile, Lu confesses the truth to Pei Jin about Qi Yan's real nature, having been saved by Qing and instructed to reveal everything. Later, Qing wakes up to find Qi Yan standing before her. She confronts him about finishing his mother, to which Qi Yan admits he couldn't forgive her for attempting to take Qing's life twice. He then confesses that he has been in love with her since childhood, and despite all his crimes, he insists he could never harm her. He reveals that he ended the life of Pei Jin's fiancée, Gu, because she witnessed him committing another murder. When Qing asks why he became a murderer, he chillingly explains that he has been drawn to finishing since childhood, starting with animals. However, he assures her that she is the one person he could never hurt and proposes marriage. Just as the situation escalates, Pei Jin storms in, only to find Qing in a wedding dress, shackled with chains around her hands and neck. Qi Yan quickly attacks Pei Jin, stabbing him. Despite his injuries, Pei Jin fights back, unchaining Qing. Qi Yan, filled with rage, stabs Pei Jin again, recounting how Gu had begged for mercy before he ended the life of her. At this moment, Qing seizes her chance and, together with Pei Jin, pushes Qi Yan off a ledge, ending his reign of terror. In the aftermath, Qing saves her stepfather, takes over all the family businesses, and finally finds peace. The series concludes with Qing and Pei Jin together,